HCG Chica, welcome back. We are on episode 38 now of the HCG Diet Interviews with Everyday People. I have Monique with me today. She said we could call her Mo if we like. And she has done wonderfully with the protocol. She went from a size 16 to a size 6. And so we're just going to hear about her story today, her journey, and some of the tips that she has to share with you guys. So welcome, Monique.
Hi.
I'm so glad to finally meet you. We've kind of emailed back and forth a bit, and it's you actually sent in your answers to your the questions I asked in advance. So I kind of have a little bit of an idea of your story. But why don't you share with everyone here just a little bit of your basic stats about you, your height, if you have any health conditions, just all that stuff.
Okay, well, I'm just shy of my 52nd birthday, and I'm a multiple sclerosis patient, and I just has gotten fatter as I've moved along in life, heavier, I should say, becoming a cook, and just kind of eating for comfort, I think, and I developed kind of an unhealthy relationship with the food, which brought me here ultimately.
Gotcha. Okay. And how tall are you, by the way?
I'm sorry, I'm 5'6"-ish.
You're 5'6"-ish. Okay, cool. And so about how overweight, like pounds-wise, would you say that you got to? Like how much weight did you end up needing to lose?
Well, I really needed to take off a good 40 to 50 pounds over the years, and it did. It took me almost 10 years after the kids, came and they started moving on slowly but surely, and I just kept buying new clothes and,
Just going up. Yeah, gotcha. So then tell us then just the basics of your HCG journey, how many rounds you did and how much weight you lost.
Well, I've done 2 rounds. I did the first round. I think I just hit my rock bottom, and enough was enough. I saw myself in a store window one day, and I just had enough. I'd done plenty of the camouflage with the clothes and the big dresses, and I just decided, there's a better way. And I had a coworker in my office who had been very successful, and I decided to finally just open the protocol, and it is now required reading, and I think everybody should read it and take away that fear factor, because it sounds kind of frightening, and if you don't know what it's about or why it works, that's really the key for me. And after I read the protocol and got through it, I couldn't get to it fast enough, and it's just been a life changer.
That's great. So when you first heard about it, did it sound a little bit kind of crazy until you read about what it's doing?
I was so scared, and I ribbed my friend, and she is now my food coach, and I just love her, and I just owe so much to her, but I did. And it's funny because now the other people are doing it to me, and I roll my eyes in much the same way, and I said, unless you read it, you just don't understand it. You're on that starvation diet. Oh my God, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
But it's not, and it does there's so many benefits aside from losing the weight. It's, as I said before, it's repairing that relationship and amending that relationship with food. And not that it's not still there. I still have it, and I have to keep it in check. I think we would all agree on that there's some changes, there's some fundamental things that go on, and it's a wonderful thing, my journey on HCG. I did a second round. I decided I was going to load on Thanksgiving and go crazy. And that ultimately was a little bit harder in the end, because when that round ended, I was looking square in the face at Christmas Day.
Oh my goodness. Oh dear.
But it was a lovely Christmas present. That was my goal. I was determined to get in a couple of these certain pairs of pants. I did it, and I haven't looked back. It's great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because size 16 to a 6, that's a big change. So your weight was, I think you wrote 183-ish, 183.4 when you started?
Yeah.
And then you ended around...
I went way down to 135, and that was a little much for me.
Gotcha.
And as we visit, I guess one thing that I would like to share with people is when you reach your goal, about the fact that when I did get down to the 135, I did have people who said, gosh, you probably need to stop, and that was also happened to be the point where I said, okay, I'm good. But what I found was that I had gone a little too far, which can be hard. And then the 2 pound window was subsequently more difficult to maintain. So I allowed myself the grace and I allowed my body to speak to me. And I think that's really, really important for maintaining, because if you want to keep that, I mean, that's work too. Really, P2 is a walk in the park by comparison, really. But I do think that letting myself up just a little bit instead of that 2 pound window, for me it's between 3 and 5. And now I don't really have to think about it too hard. I enjoy my treats, and when it's time to correct, it's time to correct. And
that's great. No, that's really good feedback. I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people are very strict about, like, you have to stabilize in the 2 pounds. And actually, you probably know I have an article about when to not worry about the 2 pound rule, because it's true. Sometimes it's really not realistic. And like, you need to live an enjoyable life, and you need to find that place where your body can do that, where you look good, but you can enjoy life, you know?
Right.
So I got to a certain leanness at the end of my last round, and I looked super lean, but it wasn't really a maintainable leanness. Like, unless you know what I mean? Like, it's just not the way to live life. So like, I can eat pretty heartily and stay at in a certain range. And it sounds like that's what you have found.
Yes, and I did read that. I would read anything I could get my hands on from you, and again, and I think I can speak for a lot of people, that your website is so comprehensive. Every question, there's an answer, and leads back to that other question that I was thinking about, and how did that affect, and it's wonderful. So thank you for what you do while I have the chance to say that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, but so that's really good feedback for people. Like, if you guys are out there and you're struggling with that, don't hold yourself to the 2 pound window always. Like she said, there's a time to correct, but you know, if you're having to do a steak day every other day, that's not the right approach.
Right.
You know?
Allow yourself the grace, and listening to your body, I think, is another thing that kind of goes hand in hand with this, and to become good and to become whole, and to just be right with yourself from the inside out. You know, it's more than a number on the scale.
Yeah, no, so true. Now, I'm curious with you, like, how did you end up finding that balance, as far as, like you said, when you tried to stabilize too low, it seemed to be really like a struggle, and then it sounds like when you gave yourself a bigger window, that things fell into place. Like, how did you know, like did you worry that, like, well, the scale's just going to keep going up, or how did you find that balance where it was like you were eating, you felt satisfied, and your weight became stable at a certain range? Like, is there anything to that, how that happened?
Well, gosh, I think it goes back to developing that relationship, that change in P2, that change in my relationship with the food, and really, it's learning that I think the portion sizes were really, really important. And then the fact that when P3 came, that it's so important to do a little bit, by 250 calories or so, I think, is what we did, what we talked about. And doing that and watching the scale go hand in hand. So if I know that I can have that avocado, and that avocado's going to be good, I can continue to have that same portion size. But when I start getting those larger portion sizes and the scale goes up crazy, well, I know that I've reached kind of an edge there. I've reached the ceiling there. I'm sorry, yeah. And for me, when I knew that it was just that the scale would go up a 2 or a 0, which goose eggs are so happily received now.
Yes.
Or a little minus, because I can control my weight every day pretty much predictably and reliably now. I know that, and my husband and I, again, we're cooks, and we love to cook, and we love to eat, and it's all about that. And my hands, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we
Are you Italian?
And I just know that if I'm going to have a nice meal that evening, and that doesn't mean go back the way I used to. It doesn't mean these huge portions, but nice portions. That means I'm going to eat a salad, a healthy lunch. I'm going to have a salad for lunch, maybe a light breakfast yogurt, but I did. I watched the scale, and I let the scale tell me. And I learned to listen. I guess I didn't really answer your question.
No, that was good. Yeah, just kind of wondering about that, like how you, and so for you, it's like phase two helped you adjust how you view things, it sounds like, so that in phase three,
Definitely.
you use the scale to help you make decisions about what you can do and what you can't do.
Yes, you put it in words perfectly.
No, that's basically what you said, right? Yeah, so that's good because I'm just trying to like help everybody out there like have like something concrete to work with. Like what do you actually do, you know? So before, like when you were struggling, and I'm sorry I didn't ask these questions to you before. So like you guys, I'm totally putting her on the spot here. I'm just asking her to like, you know, so you're doing great. So it's like when you said you got where you were kind of like it was too low, it was too hard to maintain. Like what did that feel like? Like how did you know what was hard? Like what was different about it versus when it was easier? Like were you trying to eat normally and it or what you needed to eat and then you just couldn't maintain eating what you needed to eat, or
Right. I was finding myself having those little gains at the slightest, and it was good, healthy things. It was,
okay.
it was maybe a larger portion of yogurt or several of them during the day.
Gotcha.
I had one for breakfast, and gosh, that's a nice dessert at lunch. And then, well, I'm going to have another one after dinner.
Yeah.
And sometimes even adding the ones that had like sugar
Yeah.
or maybe too much beef. I've had kind of seemingly a problem with beef sometimes. But I noticed that it was more difficult. It was more fragile, maybe is the right word.
Yeah.
It was very fragile. The menu was very fragile, and it seemed to end up being really strict like it was in P2.
Gotcha.
I really felt like P3 should be about working myself into that lifestyle, incorporating those good, healthy foods, those no sugar, no starches, no cheating
Right.
philosophy, which is the very best because you can just live your life forever and you can control your weight using those words.
Right. That's good. So that's very good feedback. So it felt too fragile when you were trying to stabilize at a weight that was just really too low for you.
Yes, exactly.
And then when you allowed yourself to go up a little bit, you were able to eat more freely, it sounds like, without it continuing to go up. It became stable at a slightly higher weight.
Yes.
Cool. That's good.
Gosh, I wish I could have said it as good as you did.
No, I'm just trying to like pull the little tidbits out. Like when people ask me that, I do the same thing. Like, you know.
It's about self-control. It's about keeping your sanity and not letting those little demons in the back of your head say, well, it's just lettuce, it's just broccoli, it's just squash, well, you still have to look at things. And pretty soon it becomes second nature. And for me, again, like you just paraphrased and you said perfectly that the scale is what really guided me. And when it starts jumping, well, I'm going to pay attention.
Yeah, and I like that feedback too because I found that everybody is different, like with their relationship with the scale, and so I totally respect that. Like some people choose to try a no weighing approach, and I totally respect that. For me, and it sounds like for you, it's been a very useful tool. I do weigh almost every day for the last 5 years, I guess now. For me, it gives me more freedom. I feel like because, like you said, you find out what you can be freer with at certain times because you'll see that it didn't affect the scale negatively, whereas if I hadn't weighed, I might not have known that, and I actually might have felt guilty and bad that I ate that food because I thought I couldn't get away with eating it, but then I could.
Right.
And then, like you said, there's other times where you do need to make a correction, and it's so much easier to catch when it's just 1 to 3 pounds, you know?
Absolutely.
So, and that gives me that feeling of control for me,
Yeah, you're right, because now my list is a mile long of things that don't bother me, and I know exactly what to stay away from.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, not to harp on this like too much more, but just a little bit, because you kind of already talked about it, but you just said that with phase 2, it really helped you to repair your relationship with food and how you viewed it, and you have already touched on it, but is there anything else about that? Like what was it during phase 2 that helped you do that, do you think?
I have to say that the thing that I really look fondly upon, if you can, in phase two, for me, it was getting creative. It was living within some guidelines, very healthy ones, and making them delicious and satisfying and realizing that I didn't need 3 chicken breasts in one sitting or what have you. I don't need all of that. I was full.
Yeah.
I wasn't hungry ever. I was now healthy, drinking water, and all those things work so well together. And I look fondly on some of those meals, and I still go to them, especially, those are my correction meals, and they're sometimes my regular meals. I can make you some mean sauteed chicken.
Awesome.
It's without oil, so it's healthy.
Yeah.
And, it really was a good thing. And I like to hope that other people and the people that I've counseled and anybody listening, that they too can find it within them to be satisfied with less, and even more so when you really jump in with both feet and embrace it. It was a great experience.
That's great. No, thank you for that. That's really helpful. So just getting creative within those guidelines was like the little stepping stone to.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. And also I wanted to let you guys know, this is probably a good point to mention it. Monique, she has her own blog now where she's utilizing to coach clients through HCG. So do you want to tell them what the name of that is and how they can contact you?
It's Lose Mo Weight, and it's LOSEMOE Weight. MOE, short for Monique. It's losemoweight.com.
Cute.
And still in its infancy stages, and I really just want to take after you. I just admire you so much, Razel, and anything that I can do to help help other folks along the way, because even though I did just say, it's not easy. It's an emotional roller coaster. I think we can all agree. It was just so trying, and I've told people, A, you have to read the protocol. If you don't understand it, you're not going to get it. And there's just so many questions that are answered. You have to read the protocol.
Right.
But that being said, it is still an emotional. It's like a whipping post almost, because you can be doing perfectly fine and get a 0 or even a gain, because your body's just going to do something. There's only so much that you can really truly control.
Right. Yeah, and I think you're right. Like having some type of emotional support, and so sometimes if you can find someone to coach you, like what you're doing. Yeah. That can just kind of keep you grounded and help you get through the process.
Yeah, so losemoweight.com.
Lose Mo Weight, and you are doing one-on-one coaching, or you're offering that service through there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, so you guys, if you want to do that, because I can't do that right now, so I'll have the link to her blog in my show notes. So episode 38 under success stories, so you guys can go there and you can find her link directly and get in contact with her if you guys are interested in that. Yeah, so because like she said, it's an emotional thing. It's sometimes people just think, oh, all I need is the list of the foods and the rules, and off I go on my merry way. And it's like, if only, like, I wish it were that easy.
It were that easy.
And in some cases, actually, the gal I just interviewed before you earlier today, she's episode 37, Diane. She's actually one of those people who didn't really have emotional issues with food, and a few of my other interviews have been like that, where literally their weight problems were purely like a metabolic issue. Like they've always eaten sensibly and blah blah blah, but they are definitely the minority. Like, so when I talk to these people, I'm like, wow, this is so amazing. Yeah, they're like, yep. So I just started the diet and I lost 100 pounds in 8 months, and I was done, and I've been maintaining 4 years, and you're like, wow, and they didn't have an issue, they never cheated, so it's like, wow. So, and I think that's amazing, but definitely the minority. A lot more women are, like you and I, that have really struggled with an emotional side to it, using food as comfort. Just so many things, and addressing that is a must. It's the only way to maintain,
Yeah, and it's work. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. But not much of that stuff feels as good as being thinner does. Again, it's it feels so great.
Especially because, like you said, you have found a way to be really satisfied with the way that you eat now.
Yes.
because that's key. It's like if you weren't, then it wouldn't really be worth it. It's like,
right.
But
No,
it is.
it's wonderful, and I'm so grateful for it. It's a blessing, and I think a lot of people have never heard of it, and I just feel I was really blessed. Again, I had a coworker, and she's my food coach, and she, like you, went through it without any support, did injections, and to me, that's the hard way. It's so hard. So why not share the love? That was actually one of her requirements. She said, I'll be your food coach, and I'll help you every step of the way, but you're going to pay it forward to the next guy who needs your help. So that's kind of a little bit, too, about why I'm happy to help and answer questions and hold hands, whatever it takes.
Yeah, that's great. So why don't you tell me a little bit now about just how did you come to be overweight in the first place? Like, I think you mentioned some of your history with smoking in the past, and just how did that come about?
Once I put the cigarettes down, everything went in my mouth.
Yeah.
And then I met my husband. He's like this really good cook, and I got in the kitchen, and it's all about meat and cheese and wine and music and young love,
Yeah. Everything else went out the window.
Right.
Aw, cool. So that's just kind of, was that like a gradual thing then?
Yeah, it did. It took several years, looking back now, and it's funny, that's another thing, you do kind of a lot of self-inventory, through this whole thing. And it just definitely was this comfort thing, and it wasn't emotional eating, and it was an emotional, and it still kind of is, but now it's time to think about it in a little more healthier respect. And I'm succeeding at that, and I guess I'm talking too much about P3 again, but
no, it's good. Every interview has its own flow, and I feel like that's actually a lot of the value here is that part of it that you've really embraced and done successfully. I can't remember how long did you maintain?
Round one was 40 days. I did 40 days, and then I took off for 40 days, and I did the second round, I want to say was 20-something days, coming just before Christmas. And I don't know why, but I seem to feel like, I don't know, once I had a taste of P3, going back to P2 was a little harder. But that just encouraged those creative juices. And, and by that, what I mean is, I can make a mean chicken stock, I tell you what. And I can make some salad wraps that'll just make you cry. I think you were talking earlier too, Razel. I have a couple of my favorite little recipes, this little mustard concoction that we've developed over here, and line the lettuce leaves with that, or put it on top of your chicken, and it's nice, and it's healthy, and it's nothing, So.
Yeah, you said this was for phase 2, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, you a Dijon herb sauce, right?
Yes.
We're gonna put the recipe on the blog for you guys, so go check out her episode. It's a Dijon herb sauce. You can use it in phase 2. And so you said you would put it. What did you put it on?
Oh, I would line lettuce leaves with it. I put it on salad dressing, or I just squirt it on top of the chicken at night, or whatever. And I'm still just a chicken fanatic. I don't think I'll ever get sick of chicken, but it's just a great dipping sauce, depending on the consistency that you make it. Nice. It's real simple, and it's cheap, and it's lemon juice, and
it adds so much when you can add some flavor to a P2 meal, because it is so limited.
Yeah, exactly. And I got really creative, and they were surprised, especially my food coach. She was really surprised with some of the things I'd bring to lunch. She's going, wow, really? And it worked, and it was P2 friendly, and I still was having my losses.
That's fantastic. Yeah, thanks for that. We'll definitely put that in the show notes there. Awesome. What else? Was there any other little things that you liked to have on phase 2 that were different or that helped you stay sane?
Well, for me, it couldn't have been done without my husband and I. We have an electric smoker, and we smoke with mesquite wood. Not everybody does that, and it's gotten to the point where I smoke it and I bring it to work and I clamor around, but I would, pre-cooking is also a big thing, I think, for phase 2 especially, and I still do it for phase 3 because it just frees up my work night, and I spend an hour or two in the kitchen on Sunday, for now P3, I'm boiling eggs, and I
Okay.
would always put some chicken in the smoker with this mesquite wood, and then I'd be in there and I'd be weighing. And I would like to come home and take some out of the refrigerator because it was cold. I did this in the wintertime. And put it in a little skillet with either some Bragg's or some homemade, instead of the oil, of course. I can saute anything now without oil. It's wonderful.
Awesome.
And just a little treat. Put a string. You get a string of onion on there, and it just felt so decadent and so wonderful, and
Nice.
worked consistently for me. So
That's great.
yeah, that was my happy food.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, are electric smokers are they really big or are they small or?
I should turn it around. I don't have to show you right there. But it's the size of maybe a dorm fridge, maybe smaller.
Oh, okay.
Some of them are a little bit larger. I think Masterbuilt has one. You can go to Cabela's.com or even, I don't know what you have in your area, but
Very cool.
you find them at sporting goods stores and places like that. And some of them use pellets, and some of them are the big iron things with big fires and drafts and things. We just decided to go electric.
Keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's predictable and it's reliable, and I do my cabbage steaks in there, and it's just you just season them like a steak, and
That sounds really good.
I get all excited about food. This is how it works.
Yeah, I can see. That's so awesome. And you also mentioned something that I've seen other people do about doing like a 1 to 2 hour prep day on once a week.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's been pretty helpful for you.
Saves my life, and I got on Amazon.com, and I got a couple of packages of those packages, like you see it, some of the health food stores with their prepackaged meals that they've got a spot for 3 things, or with a lid to plastic.
Like a container, yeah. Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
And I spread them out over the counter, and I just portion everything out, and it makes the world so much of an easier place for me.
Yeah.
I get up in the morning. When I was on P2, all I had to do is grab I have my chicken portion and my salad portion, and off the door I go. And now it's the same thing. I'll have my little breakfast portion with my little yogurt in there again, and I take my lunch because it's just healthier and it's cheaper. And
Gotcha. So are you saying you actually, I'm just trying to clarify that, are you saying you take your lunch in a container that has 3 little spaces?
Yes, they have several different kinds, and without totally talking about My Fit Foods, but it's My Fit Foods makes these has meals, and they are 3-portion containers, and you can get them on Amazon. They already have
what do you mean? They already have the food in them, or?
At My Fit Foods you can, but I'm not advocating for them.
Oh, gotcha.
It's those same containers, and so food prep containers, I guess you would look on.
I'm sorry to be so detailed, but maybe I could get the link on Amazon for the container in case.
I'll be happy to share that with you.
Yeah, I just
and they're $15 for 20 of them, and you just line them up, and you put your beans in each one, and you put your cabbage in each one, you put your lettuce in each one, and you got them, and you've got to put a little room in the fridge. And now you can go, and your life is done. And if you got to get the kids off to softball or dance camp or whatever, and you're late or you're running late, you're not you're not cheating. You've got your food ready for you. There's no reason that you have to stand around hungry going, oh my God, what am I going to do that's going to be on the program?
Yes.
Because that's a terrible feeling.
Oh, yeah.
That's a terrible feeling. I wouldn't let myself there.
Good. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, we'll put that in the show notes for you guys too, because I think whatever actual practical tips, what people are actually using, and that's a great idea, for prepping. And I used to do kind of some of that more. I don't do it as much these days. My life is I'm home a lot more, but I used to have all of these glass containers, and I would make 6 salads with everything in them, and a little Ziploc with the stuff that needs to stay dry, and that was in there, and for me and my husband's lunches each day. And it can be really useful.
Yes, absolutely. I think I sleep a lot better, and now I have more time to go out and walk. I get up in the morning and I go walk, and I join the club. Now I can swim, and I'm enjoying that, and that's much more fun than figuring out what I'm going to have for lunch that day and in the kitchen.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so you like to cook, but only so much, right? It's you still want to do other things with your life.
Right.
That's cool. Well, you mentioned real quick, I just want to mention this because I feel like I hear this a lot when it comes to phase 3 and working your way into it. you says what works is taking your time introducing new foods. I cannot stress this enough. Can you give me an example of how you did that? Some of your how you would do that with real food?
What I swear by, and what we've all kind of, and I want to say we probably have 6 or 8 of us now. The first day when you add your first 200, could we do 250 a day?
250 calories that you add each day in phase 3 from the 500.
Yes.
Okay.
And the good fat is what you're looking for, the good fat. And the first day, boy, and you were just waiting so you could have your scrambled eggs and butter. Oh, and how delightful that is to look forward to. And how you take these little tiny bites because you're just savoring it. It is the most wonderful, again, with the relationship with food. I savor my food instead of inhale it.
Yeah.
But then the next day, if that went well and you didn't have this huge jump on the scale, well, now let's have a couple of pieces of bacon to that. And a fun trick to do with that, I cut them in half, so now I got 4 pieces. I got 4 little pieces of bacon.
Make it seem like more.
Yes, and it's wonderful and it's decadent. Then, if that didn't create a problem, half of an avocado. Oh, creamy and cool and so good. You mash it up with a little pepper, it's just delightful, delightful. And then, if you don't have another big jump, you can either have some sour cream with your meal or some cream cheese, or maybe even try a little dollop of peanut butter. Be careful, though. And that day is kind of an important day because you've gotten through 3. You're doing well. You're almost feeling like the good foods are in your near future, and they are. But you do. It's very important. And if you have that little gain and you're not sure, let's back up a day. We still have our breakfast. We still have our P3 foods. We're still doing good. Our portions are just a little bit bigger. But now we're getting those good meats, good fats in, rather. And it's so much easier to do that than it is to launch in and try and figure out what I did wrong. It's like having a new baby in the house, or that 6-month-old that's just starting to get those foods on a spoon. You're not gonna throw spinach at them the first day, or beans at them the first day. You're going to give them applesauce, and you're going to give them rice cereal, and you're going to,
Yeah, that's good. No, that's really helpful. Yeah. And you mentioned something, too, about that you still struggle with the notion that fat can be good.
I do.
Because the old school thought, right, that, low fat is best, and,
Right.
That's interesting. But you're having lots of healthy fat and you're maintaining, so.
I am. And that's funny that you say that because, I did. I said that again this morning. I'm one of those coffee people I have creamer with my coffee.
Yeah.
It's a lot more creamer usually than the coffee. But I found a way around that to still stay good. And that is now I use the sugar-free syrups instead, and I get my little half and half and just the right dose, and so I can have my cake and eat it too, because I'm not using all those big chemicals anymore, and I'm not, I've discovered that the fat-free stuff usually has more sugar in it.
Right.
So let's have the good fat and have the sugar-free stuff, and that way we can kind of have our cake and eat it too.
Yeah, and it's true too, you probably found fat really provides a certain level of satiety so that you don't feel the compulsion to eat as much, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, so I just have a few more questions for you. One of them was, so these days when you are in phase 4 or phase 3 or whatever, if you're going to have a treat for yourself, now that you're stable, you're maintaining, what type of a treat might you have, and is there anything that you do to kind of keep things in check or in balance when you do indulge? Can you share that?
Sure. For me, my big weakness is I love Greek yogurt, and I'll get the plain, full fat, but I'll use a little of the flavored syrups in there.
Yeah.
And it's really delightful. I'll do that. And another little treat that I like on the savory side is they're called onion crisp, and you just dehydrate some onions, and it's fabulous and it's good. And those I guess are kind of cheats that you're probably talking about. The other cheats are, when I have that extra bite of steak that I shouldn't have, or even when I do, sometimes I'll taste some of that cheesecake in the restaurant or like that, but I'll try to go for sherbet instead of ice cream. And when it comes to chocolate, well, what I've discovered is that I like dark chocolate and there's less sugar in it. So I'll allow myself, again, the little morsels, and those are my little treats.
That's cool, and it sounds like you can actually keep that in check. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I used to be like a real like chocoholic, like I used to love chocolate cake especially. And I know you said you didn't used to be as into sugary foods for you. It was more like maybe savory or salty stuff. But yeah, the funny thing is, I would never have thought it. I've only had chocolate, I think, twice in the last like 3 or 4 years. And because I don't actually crave it anymore. It's not that you guys have to do that, it's just that be open to the idea that sometimes when you change your way of eating, your cravings actually can change.
Absolutely.
And so like what you're thinking you can't live without right now, you actually may be able to live very easily without at some point. It's going to be a process. Yeah, so I don't have to live every day like wishing I could have chocolate and then not being able to have it or only being able to have it once a week. I actually don't crave it. So I just don't really eat it anymore.
You're absolutely right, because I never liked chocolate. I'm not a chocolate person until now. So things do change drastically.
Yeah.
And talking about that, that's another thing that I did loading. I know that when you're loading, you're really supposed to do the healthy fats and do that, but no, it was crazy. And I just went bananas. So when I loaded, I did all those crazy foods and I just thought of them. And I kind of told myself, and I tell my girls, I say, you're going to go ahead and eat those things that you probably aren't going to really go back to. And it really is true for me. I don't have any craving for that greasy Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore. I just don't. My food tastes have changed. You're right, Ray's all completely changed.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I think it just brings hope for people, because I just remember feeling that way, like when I read about people eating all this healthy stuff, and I'm just like, I just don't see that happening for myself, because that's not what I want to eat, but it's true. What you feel comfortable with changes, So yeah, that's good. Well, so last little questions here. They're kind of really more one question. What are the main factors that you have noticed to play a role in someone not succeeding on HCG, which then kind of leads into the other question of what are the most important tips for doing well?
You can't cheat. You can try and tell yourself, but the scale's going to tell you the story, no matter what. And you have to change that relationship, then let the change happen. Give yourself the grace, but at the same time, be in control, be in power of yourself, have that empowerment feeling, and be on top of it. And I think when people fail, it's because they're cheating and they maybe aren't being honest with themselves. And there are ways of comforting yourself with healthy food too. You can have a lot more of that nice salad than if you sat and ate that cake or what have you, and those taste buds will change. And it's just being honest with yourself, I think, and absolutely continuing on the new lifestyle. Let the old you be the exception rather than the rule. For me, I had a terrible time with those meat and cheese trays. Oh my goodness! And now they're just a thing, and I can have them. I don't ever have to say I never can have that again, because I can. I can have them in moderation.
Yeah, that's good, and I love that. That's like certain things are the exception, not the rule. Yeah, it's fantastic. Right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today, Monique. And again, you guys, since she is open to doing one-on-one coaching for HCG protocol people, her site again is losemoeweight.com, which is LOSEMOE weight, WEIGHT.com. So you can find her there. And all of the show notes for today's episode is under episode 38 with Monique under success stories on the blog, hcgchica.com. So you can get any links that we talked about today there. And I'll try to type up some of her tips there too. how much I get written on the show notes always has to do with like how much energy I have that day. So I'll try to get what I can on there right after this before I forget. But thank you guys so much for being with me, and I'll talk with you guys next time.